Hello and welcome to All for Women's Football. Hope you're well. Lovely to have you here. We are going to be chatting. It's supposed to be about 9 different topics, but Chelsea being Chelsea had to get in there and make it 10. See you in a second. Love that song. Lovely. Brilliant to have you here. It's so good. Honestly, I was trying to think where I would like that to be played. You know, I'll just chat my niece. My sister-in-law's renewing her vows. I might just get her to walk down to that instead. Much better. Much more boogieing than all of that soppy stuff. Ladies, lovely to have you with us. How the devil are we? Liberty, all well with you?
Yeah, I'm good. I have a question, but I'm going to keep it brief this week. I think most people been locked in on the Winter Olympics, and thus I have been thinking which women's footballers I think would be good at which Winter Olympic sport.
Okay.
And I've actually been thinking about broadly all of football because I had some ideas for men's football as well, but that's not this. But to keep this brief, you have to give me the first person that comes to your head for a sport. For example, I was watching the luge, which is where they basically throw themselves down this big spiral thingy, feet first. It's insane. And the first person I thought of, I would love to see Manu Zinsberger have a try at that. Just has like the energy for it. So any sport you want in the Winter Olympics, and the first person you'd like to see have a go at it.
Well, the first person that came to mind for me was Rachel Williams. I'd probably stick her on the ski jump, to be honest, because I think she's just got that level. But I would actually see her more as one of the curling stones, just knocking them out of the way and getting to the target where she needs to be. So that's the one I would have gone with.
What, her as an actual stone or playing curling?
You could just imagine her.
Actual stone. Oh,
get out of the way.
Yeah, no, I see that. I can't get, because Liberty, I was reading your tweets earlier, and the Kirsten Casper I can't get out of my head. But also, I think Miri Taylor, ice hockey would be incredible because she'd just take no prisoners whatsoever. I think that'd be a good one. But yeah, Kirsten Casper, big air.
Yeah, that's the one. So big air is when they go down a big ramp, they do flips. It's basically one and done kind of thing. But Kirsten Casper, that was the other one that I thought of. She would be wicked at that. Obviously, you obviously want to say like Sam Kerr for the flips and stuff, but no, Kirsten Casper has the energy of like it literally just like they start at the top and they go like down an upper ramp and over. That I'd see Kirsten Casper doing that all day long. She just has the energy for it.
I'm not convinced that the Winter Olympics is the type of ice hockey they should be going in for, but I fully see where you're going with that one. So well done. Listen, we're going to get straight into it, but we have got to say hello to Freya because she's at the bottom and it would be rude not to. So how are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, good, thank you. The household is over sickness because, 1-year-old brought a sickness bug into the house. Yay, that was fun. So yeah, it's been an interesting week, but hey, we're back. Hopefully talking some sense tonight.
Somebody at work today brought in, because obviously people aren't allowed plastic and things like that anymore nowadays, so in order to try and make the world a better place, they brought in a reusable sandwich holder. So it looks like the ones that you would get out of Tesco's and Morrison's and other supermarkets do exist. And you put your sandwich in there, cut it in half, triangular, put it in there. And I just wondered if maybe, you should just be sending your kid around in one of those at the moment so that they don't keep bringing all the sickness stuff in, because she's at that age. They're just going to keep on.
A big sandwich holder. Yeah. I mean, do they make sandwich holders that big?
Nice. Probably not.
She was just quite triangle enough.
Might have to work on that a bit. I would imagine it's quite comfortable. It gives you a good.
I would love, those what's it called, Zorban? Is that with the big?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to put her in one of them and be like, off you go, and then don't touch anything, don't breathe near anyone, please. But yeah, they're very much at the age where everything's exploring through their mouths, which is really fun. So yeah, germs are plenty. So I've been a teacher all over again.
Got to love germs. But Listen, enough of this frivolity, because we have sad Chelsea fans in the chat, and let's get straight to it, because literally a few minutes before we came online, it was confirmed by Chelsea, and I shall read this out. About 15 minutes ago, this came out. But Chelsea Women can confirm that Paul Green has left his role as head of women's football. For 13 years at the club, having joined in 2013 during the formative stages of Chelsea Women. During that time, played a significant role in the development and growth of the women's programme, contributing to the establishment of strong foundations and the evolution of Chelsea Women into one of the leading teams in the domestic and European game. His commitment, experience, and professionalism have been valued across the club, and his work has helped support a sustained period of success and progress for Chelsea Women, during which we won 19 trophies. The club would like to thank Paul for his dedication and service over more than a decade and wishes him well for the future. So, that's it. He's gone. Freya, what do you make of that? Because it seemed very short, very succinct, very formal.
No, very formal, lack of emotion, very short, considering, like you said, everything they've achieved and what he's meant to the club. So I just think it's very much what has happened for, well, with a few things going on, of course, rumours, of course. But yeah, we just think someone so integral to the club like that, and then that's the statement of departure. So clearly something's gone on. Maybe not in the happiest of terms, but yeah, I've just been looking through every journalist that I know just to kind of see their perspective. And also Rob, our lovely Rob, who we know, they're holding an emergency Chelsea meeting on Spaces right now. There's over 220 people in that chat. So all Chelsea fans have converged on it. But yeah, no one is happy. Everyone is furious. And rightly so, because he was the mastermind, as much as I kind of saw it from the outside, of some of the best signings that Chelsea had. Working with Emma Hayes and working from not the inception of the club, but certainly when Chelsea was starting to really get off the ground. And, he's played such a big part of that. And it's bizarre that you'd lose someone like that so easily. So either he's got a very good job offer somewhere else and it's been his decision, or maybe things behind the scenes aren't as rosy as people would like them to believe.
Yeah, doesn't seem all that rosy at all. And it just seems to be another sort of negative storyline. And we're not used to seeing this in the WSL for the last 6 years or so, Liberty. It has been just at the top of their perch. And now just a few things happening, a few results not necessarily going the way they'd like them to, just outside the top three. And now this happens as well. It's almost like it never rains, but it pours.
Yeah, and I think it's very shocking, and maybe we as people who are not, employed by Chelsea Football Club think it's random. I think it's quite interesting that it's happened when, as the comments say, Macario's said she's not going to sign a new contract. Bonpastor last weekend complained about not having the transfer she wanted or the level of recruitment she wanted with the squad she has. And then the man who we all kind of know is at the forefront of transfers and signings for Chelsea suddenly leaves also 8:20 on a Monday night to announce it is a bit strange to me. So yeah, it just feels like a lot of things that sort of, now that you're looking at hindsight, you go, oh, maybe this wasn't as random, because her comments are the tipping point. Maybe I've seen Bob and some other people in the chat saying, like, look, it's because of the new directors who, look, listen, I don't know much about Chelsea Football Club other than what they do on the pitch, so I won't comment on that. But maybe they want to go in a new direction and they thought that he's the last piece of the sort of like Hayesian era, as I like to call it. Thank you. Thank you. So maybe the higher ups thought that he has to go to bring in this a really big new era of Chelsea women. But my issue, and I know Rob's issue, and I imagine many other fans, is you can't replace him. I don't think there is really anyone who's going to be that clued in, that in the know for a position like that quick enough for a club like Chelsea. And yeah, I mean the statement is very short for a man who's, as I say, won 19 trophies with the club, been there for 13 years. It feels quite nasty, maybe. And yeah, it just feels a bit strange. I don't think we've ever really seen something of this magnitude really happen, especially in like terms of like backroom staff at a club before, let alone at Chelsea. So yeah, it's very, very peculiar.
Peculiar, I think, is the word. It was a surprise for me, actually. Obviously, I've just got off of Wolf United duty and just popped onto the chat to make sure that everything was all right with you two and that we were ready to go. And that's the thing that was smack dab in my face there. And it's just not something that I think anybody really expected at this level. And it does not seem, it just feels like there's a little something that's not quite right at the moment at Chelsea, and they're going to have to work out pretty damn quick what that is if they are going to be all right. So we will have to see if that becomes, like one of those little chips in the glass that eventually turns into a massive crack on the windscreen, or whether or not they can get also glass to come out and fix it for free in the car park. You just never know. We'll see what they do. But there we go. That's our response to the breaking news that Paul Green has left, and I think that's the key word in the statement for me, was that he has left his role as head of women's football, and it's very interesting that they've decided to use those words. They're power in words, and that one very much makes it come across as if it is a decision not necessarily made by Chelsea. Doesn't mean that's the case. You all read it into things, but it seemed very interesting that that's the word they chose to use, because usually it's they've parted ways mutually or something like that. But that one is a very specific word, left the club. So who knows? We shall see. Apparently they were in deep conversation after the City game, according to Catherine Betterwell. I mean, people could have said the same with me about our manager, Sean, at the weekend. These things happen. You do get in conversation with these people. I suppose the question is, what's the conversation about? But there we go. So we will press on with what the show was going to be like. But obviously, if anything comes up now or in the next hour or so that we are on, then we will bring that to you. And if not, then who knows? We may revisit that in the future. But we have got 9 topics. It's a bit of a different way of doing it, rather than just keep on doing the 7-day recap, because it starts to bore me if we're just doing that. I thought we'd change it up a little bit. So I've picked 3 topics that I think are worthy of having a little conversation about. And then these 2 here have also done exactly the same thing. I asked them to pick their top 3 things that they'd like to talk about. And they've dutifully responded in the chat to ensure that could happen. So we're going to kick off with mine, because my one, I'll start basically, because there's got to be some perks on running the channel, surely, hasn't there? And so that is the one. And also I feel like if we don't, there is a real chance that Emily Moxon might burst at some point. So we are going to have to get that in there pretty quick. But probably important to say, we all said, again, I'm going to blame you for this, Liberty. We all said that the title race was over last week. And all of a sudden, Arsenal were beating Manchester City. I mean, you're going to have to start accepting that this top 3 race has got lots of twists and turns to come.
Yeah, look, I was completely ready to come on here and be like, City were valiant winners. It was a great game. But, respect to the league elect, well done to them, good showing in the Emirates, and then it just didn't have to happen. Yeah, look, it was a bit of a strange game in terms of for 45 minutes Arsenal were on top, and then for 45 minutes, well, more like maybe like 35 minutes in the second half, City were on top. And I was sort of like, oh my god, please Arsenal, just hang in here. I don't need another late equaliser like the Villa game, please. Come on, please, please, please. And I mean, we did it. We, like, first time City haven't scored this season. I was like, okay. But yeah, first off, the goal itself, absolutely brilliant. The pass from Mariona around to get it to go completely past Kanak and straight into the path of Olivia Smith is impressive, because obviously they're going toe for toe. So it's not, you can't plan to do that, because easily it could have just landed at Kanak's feet. She kicks it out, and then you're like, oh, chance is gone. But brilliant to get it round to Liv, and then very smart from her to go around Yamashita, who is, you know, top 3 goalkeeper league potential. Oh, it buffered, but I think I'm back. So yeah, very smart and very good goal. And yeah, what else? Oh, I think some of the City players just weren't at their best. That's not that, but that's because we know what they can do. And when you go off of, you know, against Chelsea, Carolyn has a hat trick, and then yes, she doesn't have a shot on target. Like, oh, there's a bit of a difference there. And lots of Obamoy has shown she can go like hand for hand with Bunny several times now, and I don't really fear her going up against Bunny anymore, because she's shown what a brilliant defender she is. But both her and Steph Catley were great, and McCabe and Fox also didn't really give the wingers, who are 2 brilliant wingers, a chance. Miedemar wasn't great, but yeah, very good game from Arsenal. But then it does switch when Coffee comes on at half time, and by the time she gets into it, they have a bit more control. But it was kind of like not their day. And I'm going to talk about the thing you want me to talk about in 1 second. I'm just trying to think of everything else before I get there, because I'll get distracted. And yeah, I did think maybe they could have had a chance at the end, but 1 shot on target in a game where the week before you had, let me fact check, because I definitely sent it to the group chat. 1 second, sorry, I should have done this before, but I forgot. They had, weekend before, they had 11 shots on target. To go from 11 to 1 is not good, as we know. I apparently have a real issue if you can't get a lot of shots on target. But that's a big difference. Well, but that's a credit to Arsenal, but also attackers went on their game. And Kim Little, Brill, and I'm going to talk about the thing now. At first, I'm going to be honest, I thought Lauren Hemp was offside. So at first I was like, not sending off, not a foul, because she was offside. Then somebody on Twitter was like, maybe Steph and, oh, the baby's back. Maybe Steph and Katie were keeping her on. I haven't seen it back enough to say if I actually think she was offside. But yes, by the letter of the law, she probably should have been sent off. However, an almost like quite identical tackle happened in men's football, but in the Liverpool City game last night in the Premier League, and it went to VAR and they only gave a yellow card. So maybe there's going to be some more lenience towards. Yeah, I know she's offside, but at the time I thought she was offside. Sorry. It's just, I'm now looking in hindsight thinking, well, if they're not giving that as a red card in the Premier League, is it a red card in the WSL? But the thing is, the ref wasn't great yesterday for both sides. And oh my god, there's a dog as well. Sorry, I'm being distracted by Freya's family. And I think when the ref isn't great, she's probably not going to make a call like a red card, even if somebody should have it, because she knows that if it's the wrong call, she's going to completely change the game. That's just a statement. That's not me making an excuse. That's just life. And I think the irony is commentary kept going on about how she is one of the most experienced referees in the WSL and in the sort of like English referee. But she didn't show it there were several times where she was off on the side of the pitch after an injury when the like the physios hadn't been on, and I was a bit like, that's not the rules. Also the players were like, that's not the rules. So I don't think she was great. And also we can all say in hindsight, it should have been a red, shouldn't have been a red, but at the end of the day, she didn't give it. So like, there's going to be no retroactive. It's not going to be one after the fact, so not really much point. But yeah, good win. And also, sorry Barry, I have one more thing to say that I've been thinking about all day. Chelsea beat City at home. I beat City at home. Now United do have to beat City at home just to complete the set. Just no pressure.
To, otherwise we'll never close the 8 points and win our first WSL. So how else are you supposed to do that? But listen, we can all talk about the referees and the officials, because let's be absolutely honest, it's not been at the level we need officiating to be for the game for some time. And no matter what happens in these big games, there's always someone. Our game at the weekend, even at Stevenage, literally we put something out there, we've won the game, and we weren't convinced necessarily. I say I wasn't necessarily convinced that the ref had the best game of his life. And yet the opposition fans were like, well, that ref just gave you everything. Like, what game were you watching? It wasn't the same one I was watching. But there we go. So it's amazing. People do see things differently. But Freya, we'll put the same sort of question over to you as well. But when you add in the fact that City were flying high, absolutely doing brilliantly, they've now lost to Arsenal. Chelsea got the win over Spurs, which obviously keeps them a little bit further away now from that top 3 position. Arsenal, with the game in hand, could go second, of course, especially considering that's against Leicester. And of course, speaking of them, Manchester United defeating them just about at the weekend. So it's all still going on there. That was points. It's one of those rare occasions where a top side loses the points and all the teams behind them actually do claw back a little bit of space. And again, if Arsenal win that, they'll be 7 points behind. Is it possible that there is going to be a little bit more of a twist and a turn in this title tale, or are they just sort of teasing us?
No, I think it's one of those situations where City are a brilliant team this season, but they're not invincible, and no one is. And Arsenal, did really well to come back and limit them the way that Liberty's described there. So it shows that it is possible for other teams around them to take those points or to draw, or they shouldn't. I don't want to say they shouldn't fear them, because obviously they're still a very impressive side, but to the point where the teams around them know that dropping points is possible. Sifaway said they're not closing a 7-point gap. Probably not, but maybe it can happen, and it's sure that that is wide open now. Do I think that they're probably still going to edge it in the end and have that little bit of buffer? Yeah, because they'll be absolutely fuming at that match. Having the one shot on target, like you mentioned. That's not them, is it? That's not City from the last couple of weeks, is it? So I just think they'll bounce back and come out fighting again. But it shows that all of the teams need to come out fighting, and they now can't afford to drop any points if they want to stay in this not title race, top 4 race for Champions League places, that kind of thing. So in the important places, that race, I'll get my wording correct because I'm trying to get twisted. Not title race. But yeah, it is all to play for with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, because looking at the table, the points are so tight. No one, you can't rest. You can't afford anything else. So yeah.
I genuinely think I've perpetuated that myth so much now about what Liberty said or didn't say, but I've actually convinced myself that she said it. I can't just get the point of she said it and that's the end of it, which is so bad because she didn't. I know deep down she didn't. Before we bring Liberty back in, we are going to have to do it. Emily, this is your moment. Turn your volume up because if we're looking for the result that I wasn't expecting this weekend, I wouldn't necessarily have gone with the Arsenal City one. There was always a chance that Arsenal were going to win that. I'm not even suggesting that I thought Liverpool couldn't beat Aston Villa, but for Liverpool to win 4-1 is a bit of something. We'll give Emily her moment here. She had really nice to see already get her first goal for Liverpool. Nearly said us. That would have been terrible, Emily. That might have actually, what's the word? Spontaneously combusted. That's the word I was after. Had I used that word. But her runs remind her of Liv Smith's runs. Was so pleased to see Martha Amir adds their tally. Loved Grace's goal and the Villa goal as well. A very happy young lady there is Emily Moxham. I should imagine you were slightly less happy, to be honest with you. But despite that, I mean, it was 2-0, then 2-1, finished 4-1 in the end with some late goals. But, I mean, this Liverpool side, we said it I think the last week or the week before, that they're looking like they're starting to come into a little bit of form and maybe not be the team that finished bottom this year. And it's not looking good still for the likes of Leicester if they can't get up for it. So, yeah, we looked at one end of the table. Let's quickly just get through that second one as well. And, of course, yes, a very important point that was mentioned with Everton beating London City Lionesses with the not quite new manager bounce, because Brian Sorensen's obviously been sacked from Everton as well. It's all going on in the bottom half of the table.
Was that to me? Sorry.
It was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The other thing wasn't for you. You know it was.
I mean, do I have to talk about Villa? No, I think the thing is, Liverpool played really well. I can't say anything different because they did. Liverpool have also invested really well in the window. You can tell that they've had time together. They've done, there you go. The baby is now gone. So they've invested well. They've brought in the right players, and it just shows you that they've done what you need to do in a transfer window. They were struggling, and now they're not. They're playing some really good football. And they did. Liverpool were the better side. Villa, I mean, it's probably a completely different podcast to talk about what's going on at Villa at the minute, but they're not, things aren't great. Chelsea aren't the only club that's got issues behind the scenes. And you can tell in the players, they look exhausted. The club didn't do anything in the transfer window apart from Jean-Francois, of course, and Nyswanger, but that's two. We ideally needed 4 or 5 brought in. And you can't keep expecting the same players to give everything week after week without anything back. So that's, like I said, that's a different story. But yeah, something's not right at Villa, so they couldn't give their all. I mean, Miri Taylor, Kirsty Hansen need special shout outs because they never stop. And it really, really shows. And a couple of us sent messages to the players after the game just saying, thank you. Like, we see you. Please don't think that the fans are turning against you. Because we see the effort, we see you play for the badge. So, I think Liverpool are going to do really well. I think they're really going to kick on. I'm more worried for Villa now after that performance, if that's the way it stays. I mean, that bottom of the table, I mean, looking at it now, you're right, Leicester, they need to, they brought in some good signings and they're not playing bad football. They're just not still picking up points. Again, Liverpool, like I said, yes, they're in 11th, but they've got potential now to finish a lot higher. Villa did have a nice 5-point buffer. That's now down to 2 because, of course, Everton have had maybe a new lease of life after Sorensen's departure. I think anything can now happen between 7th and below, and that's including Brighton as well in that, because the results are just all over the place and you can't gauge it, which is exciting, but it's also terrifying if you're one of those teams as well. So there's a couple of teams now that need to really just remember why they play again and find a way to kick through. And again, this year, of course, they need to win that playoff match. So relegation isn't maybe automatic, which I know I've spoke about before. Maybe that's in some clubs' heads. Like, yeah, we'll beat that team. That's fine. Do we need to invest as heavily this time? So yeah, I just think there's a lot going on behind the scenes now, and because there's a lot more eyes on the game, people are starting to question more and expect more as well. But yeah, can't say anything bad against Liverpool. Very, very good performance. Like Emily was saying, Shillag, fantastic. Her coming onto the pitch, that was just the final nail in the coffin of a really bad afternoon. But yeah, just Villa need to do much better. And that's it. Back to basics, really. Disappointing.
Indeed. Liberty will throw the bottom half of the table question to you as well, but maybe you could help me with this one, because 7 points between Arsenal and City, no, never going to happen. But 6 points between Liverpool and Aston Villa, catchable. Is that because Aston Villa are more likely to lose games than Man City, do you think? Is that kind of way you think? I mean, Shiftway, to be fair, you can answer this as well. We don't need people to speak for you. But that's generally what she's trying to say, isn't it? There's more chance of Villa losing and therefore being a bit more chopping and changing around the bottom half of the table.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, so someone like City now has played Chelsea and Arsenal home and away. They only have their only other like big quote unquote game is going to be obviously United away, whereas a Villa may have to play all top four still or something like that, or Liverpool for the same. That's one the beauty / ugly side of the scheduling, that City have played all but one of those games, and it's the 9th of February. So maybe that's it, and you're thinking potentially, a Villa or a Liverpool are more likely to lose those games up against the top four, quote unquote, top five if you count Spurs, than anything. So yes, but also, as I said the other week, I don't count anyone out, even against City now, or literally anyone, because it just takes one moment for a club like Liverpool, like Villa, like any of the sort of middle and lower, I guess, clubs to just happen to nick a point or nick a result. They just get one moment from a corner and they header it in. Like it takes like literally 1 minute, and then they could walk away with all 3 points against Arsenal, against Chelsea, against whoever. So yeah, it's coming from a place of, I'm not trying to speak for anyone, but to me, it's coming from a place of they're more likely to drop points than anyone else. But also, if a club's already like in a bad spot, no offense, Freya, but like if it's already not looking great, they're probably more likely to. Your brain goes, maybe it continues, and maybe
it's the mentality, 100%.
Yeah, they don't bounce back as quick as the club would like, the fans would like, or like people would like. Maybe they kind of spiral a little bit. Maybe it's that. But look, it was a interesting weekend for bottom clubs against mid-table clubs, which is potentially the most interesting games we have in football, especially in the WSL. Because if you told me that West Ham were going to go from 2-0 down to 3-2 in the last 10 minutes of the game, I would have said, you got to be bloody joking me, mate. If you would have told me that Everton would have beat London City away, I would have gone, you're joking me, mate. Because you see the difference in investment, especially between two teams like London City and Everton. London City, who have, seemingly all the money in the world, well, at least all the money in Kang's pocket, and an Everton side that have faced trouble on the men's side that's sort of bounced over into the women's side, but they're kind of trying to keep afloat, especially this season more. And I would have gone London City were going to win that, especially being at home, and then Everton go and get the win. West Ham against Brighton side that were doing really decently, but then sort of have, similar to Villa, had a really bad couple of weeks where you're going, oh, what's going on here? And I think that specifically about West Ham, sorry, I have thoughts about West Ham. The first goal from Fionn Morgan is insane. I don't know how she's done that. And people being like, is it a cross? Is it not? I don't think it's a cross. I don't know who she's trying to cross it to. Yeah, that was a bit cheeky. I was kind of like, ooh, okay. But the big issue with Brighton, I think, is sometimes the back line. I think sometimes Nadozie doesn't trust the back line, and the equalising goal, she comes out and misses it, and Shakira Martinez has basically does have an empty net to shoot into, and she gets the 2-2. And I think that sometimes there's a disconnect between the back line and Nadozie and how much she trusts them, which I think is evident in what we saw there. And then the third one is a bit of a mess in the box, to be honest. It's a bit scrambly, so don't really think anyone's at fault there. But yeah, for Brighton to go ahead in 2 games and then have 0 points in a row is shocking, especially when we've come to see quite a steady Brighton side, and it seems like these last 2 weeks have been like the opposite of steady. So I think that's very
important. The one to say it, but what else hasn't been here for the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, you know how his last show you were like, you get to speak about a Brighton win. It's your last show, and then he's gone, and they've lost 2 on the bounce. Like, Sean, it's all your fault. Not that he's here. Sean, it's all your fault. But yeah, I think that was. I didn't see Liverpool winning in the manner that they did purely because they've hit some decent form, whereas West Ham are consistently quite chaotic, and always have been. Like, no matter under what manager, they always are just very chaotic as a team. So I didn't really necessarily see them getting a result against Brighton. I think Leicester have an uphill battle now, if they're going to get out of bottom. Obviously, they also have a game in hand. We keep speaking about Arsenal having this game in hand and how it's just Leicester, but Leicester also do have a game in hand. And as I said about 5 minutes ago now, because I can't shut up, you never know what's going to happen, and maybe Leicester do win that game at the Emirates. But they definitely do have an uphill battle, and I think it needs to click now and not later, because that game in hand at the Emirates is then followed by a game against Chelsea at the weekend, and that is the second to last game of the season. And you're thinking, if you wait in that long to try and push out of the bottom, then maybe it's too late. And I am personally of the opinion that if you are whoever's going to finish third in WSL2, you're probably wanting Leicester to be in the playoff place, because like with the reinforcements that Liverpool made and the talent that West Ham do have, you're probably thinking you want to play a Leicester more than anyone. So I think Leicester need to really try and get out before it's too late, because yeah, I don't necessarily think that they're a shoe-in for a win if they get in that playoff place.
It's all right though. Rachel Williams will get them with their curling straight in, so no problems there. We might end up in the WSL2 very shortly, but just a quick run through, because the weekend, as we said, it's got some interesting sort of banana skins there. Friday, we'll see Man City facing Leicester City. So you would imagine that's 3 points and City back on the horse for Manchester, that is. But you just never know. Are Leicester going to try and pull some sort of shenanigans out of the hat? Villa will play Spurs, which is probably not the sort of game that Villa really wanted at this point, but we shall see how they get on. Chelsea will have Liverpool, a resurgent Liverpool, with Chelsea bubbling along. So it'll be very interesting to see how they get on. Everton will face West Ham, which is, of course, quite a big one down near the bottom there. Manchester United have got London City Lionesses. That's going to be right in between the European matches that are happening as well. And then, of course, Brighton and Hove Albion will be facing Arsenal, which is, again, another big tie. There's potential banana skins everywhere you look on that one. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Right, we are 1 down, 8 to go. Now, the good news is I've picked the meaty ones, these 6 that are going to be chosen by these guys. I don't know quite how much of a debate and a discussion and a chat there's going to be on those, but to give you a rough idea of where we're sort of going with these, the 6 things that the ladies have picked here. We're going to Brazil. You knocked me light over there. We're going to Sweden. We're going to be talking about somebody who should have a song from the Flintstones, not that Liberty's ever seen it. We've got to be going via Durham. We might end up in the WSL2 a bit more with regards to loans. And we're off to Italy as well with this Serie A. We'll be talking a little bit more broadly about Europe, because obviously the Champions League games will be restarting this week. And we're also going to have a little chat about the roles of men and women in football. So brace up, because I was hoping it'd be an early night tonight. We could still be here at midnight, depending on what goes on. Obviously, these two will just be cracking on. So we shall see. But Freya, you won the coin toss that I didn't do. And we're going to let you pick your subject first. So you picked 3 things.
Ooh.
What do you want to lead with? What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I mean, everything. I'll talk about everything. Shall we? Should we do WSL too? Because I feel like they need their moment, and I think me and Liberty kind of crossed on that bit as well.
Well done. That's where I wanted you to go with that. Good job.
Yeah, because essentially there's in the WSL2 best league in the world, there's still, you know, a fight between, I mean, down to 6th, I think now is probably a good bet for who's going to take that 3rd promotion spot. Again, could literally be anyone. And it was fantastic at the weekend because Birmingham City are one of those teams where they can either absolutely demolish you about 10-0, or they get a 1-1 draw in Durham, which is what happened this weekend, which is fantastic. And that's exactly it. So they went up to Maiden Castle, notoriously hard ground to play, because that pitch is not for the faint-hearted at all. And yeah, Durham held their ground, and Liberty's going to do the pronunciation because Birmingham scored first through.
Please correct me, but this is what I think based on Google. I think it's Leidhammer. Like, it's a bit German. Vilma
Yes.
Leidhammer.
Vilma Leidhammer. She was a new signing in this window and has been incredible so far. Every minute that she's played. Yay! Uncle Tony says yes. So yeah, I mean, she was incredible. So that was just for the hour mark. So it took Birmingham City a long time to break through Durham. And it looked like, you know, despite the shots, despite trying to break through, it looked like they were going to claim the points. And then in the 8th minute of stoppage time, who could believe it? Straight from a free kick, wasn't it? Lucy Watson was out on the sidelines, placed the ball down, and you thought, is she gonna go for it from here? And she did. I don't know. I mean, Liberty, I don't know if you agree whether it was attempted across or whether she wanted it to go straight in, but I think she'd done exactly the same thing the week before as well. And just scored directly from a free kick, curled beautifully into that top corner. And you just saw Birmingham City go, oh, that wasn't meant to happen. We were meant to take these 3 points, and we were meant to go ahead and, you know, keep up with Charlton, who are also doing incredibly well. But yeah, they just lost it in those final moments. And I think there was only about 30 seconds of play left. And then suddenly it was it. And it was as if Durham had won the championship, the way they celebrated. It was phenomenal. And I think that's, again, I know we talk about it, but the brilliant thing about Durham, because they'd lost their previous 2, they'd drawn the 2 before that. They weren't really getting much joy from their games. they're only 1 point ahead of Sheffield, 1 point behind Sunderland. So it's so tight in that bottom portion. So for them to get a point, not just in general, but a point against second place Birmingham City was just incredible. So yeah, a massive shout out to Durham for being able to pull that off. And it just shows you, like we mentioned earlier, it can take anything. It's just a minute, and suddenly that ball's in the back of the net, and it's completely changed the game. So yeah, just wanted to really shout out Durham this week for doing that, because Amy Merricks was not happy in her post match.
I'd just like to answer the question of if it's a cross or a shot. I think if you get to a point where, as you said, like there may be 30 seconds left, there's not a lot left, you're probably going for a shot at that point, because you know that if the keeper gets it, or it's kicked out by a Birmingham player, that's your last shot gone. And so I think if that was me, I wouldn't be taking the risk of trying to do a cross. I'd just be thinking, look, this is my one chance. Let me at least try and say I
try and
tried.
get him.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I think. It was probably a shot more than a cross, purely because I would be thinking that why not?
Whatever it was, it went in the back of the net, and that was the most important thing and the reason why we love football. Because you talk about all the things happening up the top, the bottom was just as big, I think, there, Freya. And Emily pointing out, I was going to bring this up, Ipswich beating Portsmouth 2-1 was quite something that's brought Ipswich out of the drop zone. Portsmouth have just dropped in on goal difference. Amazing, really.
Yeah, I mean, Ipswich, I think I mentioned it last week, but Ipswich have had a really positive transfer window. They've brought in players. They knew they were struggling initially. And they've brought in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players on loan. They've signed 3 players permanently. Like they've got a whole new squad, essentially. So the club have really recognised and what's the word? I don't know. I'll choose a different one. They've really looked forward and thought, yeah, like we need to do something, and invest. That's the word. We need to invest. We need to make sure we send to real salt here, because this is a hard league, which could segue quite nicely to something else we're going to talk about. But yeah, it's a really hard league now, and what maybe could have cut it last season just isn't going to do it this season. So yeah, they've recruited really positively, and it's showing, because they are moving out of those bottom spots. Portsmouth are now in the relegation spot, same number of points, both on 10 now, but Ipswich have got a slightly better goal difference because they're finally scoring. So yeah, it's literally it. I know we talk about whoever wins the transfer window, the winter one, but it really does make the difference. And you can see the teams who haven't had it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's a big one. And we are going to sort of pop back onto the WSL2 for one of your remaining 2 topics. So we will be flying back round there. But you put Liberty as yours, a person. And it's very rare that we have a person to discuss and debate, but Uncle Sony, bless him, is in here talking about Vilma and how when she was born, a lot of Swedish girls were named Vilma after a beloved character in a very popular Swedish TV show. And then, don't take this the wrong way, but then he absolutely takes the mick and writes it down. Now, I'll have a challenge, me, so I'm all up for it. I'm going to have a little look at it. So, I feel like is like a score. So I'm going to go Skurgadsdoktorn. Who knows? So we'll see whether or not he's got that. That's apparently what it was. I was thinking Doctor Who when I read that, but it's not. It's the Archipelago Doctor. So there you are. But Wilma is, of course, the name of Fred's wife in Close Enough. That's why I like you, Uncle Tony. It's like, it will do. You don't live here. Well done. It just makes me feel like a traditional English person abroad, trying their best to throw the language out there, but failing dismally for the most part. And that's me all over. So there we go. But yes, Wilma was obviously the wife of Fred Flintstone, along with Barney and Betty. Rubble. God bless them. And so we thought maybe that was a really good song choice for Wilma. But you wanted to bring it, sorry, Vilma, because she's not Fred's wife. So talk to us a little bit about why you chose a person to be one of your top 3 talking points of the week.
First off, I'm gonna try it now because I think it's gonna be something like scores Gord Doctorn, but I don't think I've got the end right. But I'm thinking, but maybe that it's more of an E. Anyway, Uncle Tony will tell us if we're right. I know G-A-R-D like Rosengård. That's what I'm thinking. But I think maybe
I think I got the middle bit wrong.
It's less score. Anyway, I'm learning, guys. The beginning was off. I thought so. I thought the beginning was off because I'm thinking maybe it's more of an E sound, but then in my head I'm thinking about like Stellan Skarsgård, the actor, the family of actors, and then I've got.
That's just cheating.
Okay.
How can you put a
Uncle
sound
Tony
in
every week comes on and is like, that sound doesn't exist in English, and I'm like, I've got no chance. I've got no chance. I've got no chance. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, I wanted to talk about her because obviously, she joined in January from Norrköping and was Birmingham's club record signing for the women's team, and was clearly a signing with WSL in mind. I don't think that's criminal to say. Very clearly above a WSL2 level. Norrköping are not a bad team in Sweden. Obviously got to the cup final last year. Obviously lost to Hammarby, but they still got there. They beat Häcken in the semi-final, so and really not a bad team she was coming from, where she was a very good player for them. But she scored 3 in WSL2 now. Obviously, the goal against Durham, but in her first 2 games in the league, also scored. And I do not know how much she cost. I think I remember seeing a rumor of like 300k, but I don't actually know if that's true. I think somebody said that, but do not fact check me on that because I'm not 100%. But a decent fee was given to Norrköping for her. And what's I say? Yeah, she scored 3 in the WSL2. And I just think I tweeted yesterday a senior call up has to be coming because Sweden have struggled. Their first 2 games under Tony Gustafsson were losses, and I think there is space for her to come into this team. I know that somebody told me on Twitter yesterday, and I do remember this, that Gustafsson said in the last international break in 2025 that she was definitely an option they were thinking about, but in the end he decided to play Hannah Lundqvist in that position instead of in fullback. But I think she's definitely made a case for herself to be coming into the senior team in the next window, when call-ups, the team lists will be out next week. I think somebody said next Tuesday, next week. So I definitely think she should be on that list. She's 22, I think. My memory serves me right. She's very young, and I think that there is room in the senior Sweden squad right now for her, especially when you think of some players are going to be out of season technically because the Damallsvenskan isn't back yet until the end of March, even though we have Svenska Cupen games at the end of this month and in March. Technically, league action isn't until the end of March, and also obviously we have the Europa Cup games for Häcken and Hammarby. But I think she's definitely made a case for herself. I think when we think of maybe Freya can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Lena Hurtig is injured. But when I looked on last time she played, she hasn't played since December.
She's been out, yeah.
So there's definitely a spot there for her. Madeline Yanagi hasn't scored in since November, at least in the league, is what I saw when I looked over there. So I think there's definitely space for her. And if she's in bang good form, why not try her? And yeah, I just wanted to, a kind of player that I wanted to give her a shout out because I think she's come to England for the first time, and has very much hit the ground running. And I think she should definitely have a chance for Sweden in the senior squad. She's played for the U23s, but obviously not for the senior squad yet. I think she deserves a chance. And yeah, I just wanted to give her a shout out because I think it was a signing that definitely went under the radar because maybe not as many eyes were on Birmingham, but definitely deserved a shout out from me at least.
Well, there we go. Sipaway is apparently gone down the rabbit hole with us, which is good. And she thinks it's Shareguard's Doctor. Which I could see.
I remember it's the same sound as Uncle Tony told me that the old Hammarby head coach's name is pronounced, but I still don't get it right. It's not an X, but it's closer to an X than an S. And I still can't get it right. Martin, I'm not going to even try it because I know it's going to be wrong. But I'm on. I can see I've got it in my brain. I just can't do it, but I know I've got it now. But I just
everyone exhibit his brain, and we'll work out what's going on there. Reasonable, but listen, a club record fee, which is again good news, and as Emily put just a little bit earlier on, really nice to see these clubs starting to put the money in to get these people across, and a very Little Mix thing, with her being somebody who used to play in the Damallsvenskan. That's a bit of a shout out to your ex there on that one. Little Mix, threw that one in.
When you said it's a bit of a Little Mix thing, I was thinking
I can see you struggling. Where's he going with this? That's nothing to do with it.
Also, sorry, quick shout out on the WSL2 front. Sophie Whitehouse made 6 saves to keep a clean sheet at the weekend.
Yes.
Brill. Very underrated goalkeeper, in my opinion. Should definitely have more of a chance with Ireland, with Republic of Ireland. But when you have Courtney Brosnan as your number one keeper, I understand why you want to play her when she's fit. But yeah, shout out Sophie for 6 saves because that was brill.
Sounds like you've been to Twitter and probably should have stayed here on that one. But listen, beauty of us, you can always replay it. And that's a good thing for you. Right. I was going to go next. We've still got a couple of things to throw in there. But I feel like whilst we're still around this sort of area, Freya, it probably makes a bit more sense just to pop over to you again. Because you did have another one that was a bit WSL2-y. But this was more about the competitiveness, not TUI as in holidays. It's not Jet 2 holidays.
I was going to say, where we're going. TUI, yes, I'm with you.
But you spoke a little bit about your Villa and the competitiveness now, the WSL2. So players that are going on loan, maybe not getting the opportunity to go there. So you can flesh that out a little bit more with what you meant. But yeah, back over to you.
Yeah, it was just a comment of, we've always had academy players or youngsters from your top teams, your Arsenals, Chelseas, Cities. They've always gone to either your Villas, your Leicesters, or they've gone down a league in the, Bristol City, Portsmouth, etc. But the WSL2 is becoming so competitive now, unless you're a standout player like Jessie Gales, who is doing incredible, by the way, shout out to her. You're not really going to get a look in because, we've got players like Leerdama coming over in Birmingham, so they're not going to give her spot away to, a youngster that's just come through the academy, 17, 18-year-old. So, we've seen, especially this window, especially with the Arsenal youngsters as well, loads of them are going overseas. We've had a couple of Villa and Man City as well. They've sent their younger players up to Scotland. And it just feels like, Glasgow City's got, and Celtic have got whole new teams made up of all these loan players. But it just shows you that it's such a competitive league now. And it's not it's not easy to get into, and it's not easy to get minutes. And we've seen youngsters go out for the first half of the season, not actually get any minutes, so they've been recalled to go somewhere else. And we just had Vivian Leah announced earlier. Oh God, where's she gone? She gone to Rosengard? No, she hasn't. She's gone to Hammarby. I knew it was somewhere like that. One of those teams Liberty knows about. So yeah, but it just shows you they're going to these bigger teams, but further afield, which is going to be incredibly. Yeah, sorry, Uncle Tony. It's going to be an incredible experience for them. They're not just moving down the road where they can still maybe put back home if they want to. It's going to be a proper culture change and everything. So I think it's going to be an incredible journey for them, but a really interesting time that they are being pushed out further as well. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because WSL2 isn't what maybe some people might think of such a drop down. And it is getting more and more competitive now. Thank you.
So Liberty, I'll throw this on to you. I don't know what you think, but I'll make a comment now about how, this when we talk on the United channel, there's a lot of people that want to talk about getting the youth through at United, and it's difficult. I always state that the jump from where they've been playing at their youth football is such a jump from there to the WSL action, especially the top third of that division, that it's not as easy, I don't think, to bridge that gap. You want to send them to WSL2 sides, but we've seen even with a couple of players like Lucy Newell and they go on loan, don't play very many games, so then have to come back and go elsewhere. Emma Watson was another one. So these players are going off, doing these loans, but you want the WSL to be stronger and more competitive so that these players are able to get that. My question really then is the academies of the WSL sides obviously haven't quite managed to reach the level that they need them to be if they're going to want to send these teams to the WSL2, but they can't get a look in.
Yeah, I think that in years previous, the WSL2 was a really good option if a player wasn't ready to go abroad or wasn't ready to go to, obviously Scotland is a different country to England, but abroad is in not too far, like going to like some of the City players. City, like Manchester's in the north, it's really not that far from Scotland compared to if you are from a London club, for example. That's where my thinking is with that statement. In case you need a geography lesson. I think we've always seen this sort of team from the Championship, now WSL2, be promoted and then almost immediately go back down again because the level is so different between those two. Whereas now we're saying, actually, we have a real chance of the team that finish in third in the WSL2 could beat whoever finishes at the bottom of the WSL. And I am more than happy for the WSL2 to be a league that is increasingly closer to the WSL in terms of standard, in terms of players, in terms of all of that. If it means at the consequence of not sending kids on loan there. I'm not sure if that's controversial, but I'm more than happy for the WSL2 to be at a very high standard that a 19-year-old defender's not getting a look in. Because I think that is what we need to improve the English football pyramid. And it also means that these kids get a chance elsewhere. Look, obviously, yeah, Viv Leah's gone to Hammarby, who are more than going to welcome a kid of her talent, and she's going to really add something to the attacking line. Rosengard have Cecily Wesley Smith on loan from Arsenal, also 19. She's a defender. She's going to learn a lot from a Rosengard team of trying to not be as bad as last season. But then you have, like loans to Scotland, Emma Watson over in Mexico, and obviously Arsenal had Layla Harbour loaned to the Portland Thorns for the first half of the season. I really enjoy this sort of utilisation of international leagues to get English kids or slash UK based kids up to, obviously because Emma Watson is not English, shock. She is Scottish. But I'm more than happy for them to use international leagues to push them up, because I have said, for coming on 3 years at this point, the WSL should use the loan option of Sweden more, because their levels aren't too far off between the two of them, in terms of the style of play and stuff, because it is a league that is very good. It is just these kids are going to have more chance to play. That's like simple as. Obviously, the last loan between the WSL and the Damallsvenskan was Micah Hamano to Hammarby, and that was because she didn't have enough of those like Brexit points to come and play in England. I still don't understand, but that's why she went to Hammarby, was because she needed minutes coming out of Japan, but she also couldn't come straight to England because she couldn't then leave. Politics. I'm so excited. But I'm so excited for Vivlia to hear the Hammarby fans. I think it's going to be brilliant. It was never a loan. Sorry, I'm going to answer this. It was never a loan for her to play loads. She was never going to play loads. Everyone knew that. Arsenal fans knew that. Arsenal knew that. She knew that. But it was for her to get acclimatized to a new league, in a different country, really far away from home at a very young age, and see what football is like elsewhere. Because sometimes if you have a kid who only ever plays in one country, it isn't. Some kids thrive if they have different influences in football, and I think she's going to be a kind of player like that. And when we think of the shoes she's trying to fill eventually in Arsenal, in terms of Kim Little, like she's been compared to Kim quite a bit. Kim played in four different countries in her entire career. So she played in the US, she played obviously in England, Scotland when she was younger, and also in Australia. So you're having this like multicultural evolution of their football at such a young age that it's just going to help them, especially when they're all, U19, U21 England internationals, or a fully fledged Scotland international in the terms of Emma Watson. I just think it's brilliant that we are not scared to send kids abroad anymore. Obviously, when you have the likes of Renee Slagers, who is has come from Sweden, she played there, obviously in Linköping, she also coached there. She has a very good connection with Sweden. She speaks Swedish. Her wife is Swedish. It's very clearly an avenue that Arsenal are more than willing to take now, and I really hope it continues, because I'd like to see kids get a chance more, because as Freya said, they're not going to get a chance in WSL2 anymore because it's just too close now, where you don't have this kind of team running away with it, and it's every game matters, and they're not really going to take a stab at a kid just because they've come from an Arsenal or a Man City or a United or a Chelsea. I think it's brilliant. I'm going to say it one more time for fun.
No, I agree. I think it's very good. And talking about saying it one more time, I've completely gone on this one now. I feel like I've got to get it. And now that you've mentioned it's Lock, and I'm like, oh, Scottish roots. So we're going to give it another go. Let's see how we get on. I would go with Herrgårdsdukten. So we'll see what Uncle Tony comes back with that one. But that's where I've gone with it. I've thrown it in there. Sounded like I was coughing. But we'll see how we... Oh, that was close. Close. Was it closer than before? I'm thinking there. But there we go. So that's going to take up most of my night now. I feel just trying to get that sound. But there we are. Liberty, you had two things you still wanted to talk about. As I've just thrown Sweden back in there, we might as just get it out of the way, get another Hammarby count in. I know you want to talk about. I put it on the thumbnail as, and I think you'll appreciate this one, the Damallsvenskan restocking. So talk to us a little bit more about how they're refilling the shelves after the spring sale.
spring sale. More like a Christmas sale, no? It's the January sales. Yeah, obviously, Rosengard have signed Wesley Smith on loan. Hammarby have got Vivian Leah, and that's additional to signings that they've already made. Hammarby looked like they lost a lot of people, and they did lose a lot of the core, but they had already put in place things to replace them as players, whether it was in the summer or whether it was in January. They had for example, they lost their second choice goalkeeper. Her contract ran out. She didn't sign a new one, and so she went to Rosengard. And so they signed a keeper from Linköping. Yeah, I think she's from Linköping. Anderson. I think I'm now second guessing if that's where she's come from, but essentially, they haven't left themselves vulnerable to the gaps. Thank you. I wasn't sure if it was Linköping or if it was from Rosengard. I knew it was one of the bottom ones, but thank you. I'm glad I got it right. But yeah, they'd already filled the gaps, and then this morning I wake up to a message from. I know Freya knows Adam. I'm assuming that Barry knows Adam as well, but Adam Salter. Adam Salter? Yes. He will send me. Basically, he will tag me in message in a group chat we're in with my name, and I always know something's happened with Sweden adjacent, league adjacent, if he's sending it to me. Bear in mind, Arsenal announced this at 8 o'clock this morning, and I was thinking something's happened for Sweden, and I open it, and Vivlia's gone to Hammarby, and she said that she's spoken to Clara and she speaks very highly of the club. She's only met Smilla once, but she's heard great things. I'm really excited for her to really get a chance. She didn't really get a chance at Nottingham Forest because of previous discussion. And so I'm really excited to see what she can do. Unfortunately, she's not in the Europa League squad because the paperwork had to be in on the 5th. And I'm assuming that her paperwork to be a Hammarby player went in over the weekend. So she's slightly out of time with that. But her first game for Hammarby could be against Rosengard in the cup at the end of the month, which would be a very interesting first game when you're immediately going up against your friend from the Arsenal Academy. It'd be quite funny. So yeah, it's quite a shame that she's going to miss out on Europa Cup, but Sean thinks we're going to go out this round, so maybe she's not missing out that much. Yeah, but yeah, I think that a lot of people just saw the exits, obviously because they're all coming to the WSL, and don't think that these clubs have put in the reinforcements the other way. But the thing is, they're not stupid football clubs, and they definitely are trying to stay afloat, or try and stay afloat as in be successful, be at the top of their game, be in the top of the league. So I think that it was I just wanted to say that, like, we're not gonna drown. Excuse me, sorry. We as in the league and not just Hammarby, but like these teams are not silly. And from a Hammarby point of view, they've definitely made the reinforcements. They brought in kids from Norway once again. They've also managed to hang on to some people that I almost thought were a shoo-in for a move. I've heard that they paid 560, which I don't know how much that is in euros, but in pounds I heard 560 from the BBC to put out there, which is a lot to play her out of position on the wing. Sorry, Barry, but why is she playing as a right winger? Anyway,
it's nothing to do with me where she plays.
I'm just putting out there. But yeah, I think that, as I said before, having the option for English kids or England-based children, let's put it that way, to have a loan move to Sweden is probably going to be a very fruitful adventure. And I imagine that these are not going to be the first two sort of U19 England internationals to be going on loan to Sweden in the next few years, because it is a place where you can get good minutes and you can get consistent minutes, and a new environment, a new league, especially if you have a manager or players telling you it's a brilliant place to be. Yeah, I'm very shocked she didn't leave. Delighted she didn't leave, but I almost thought she was a shoo-in for a leave. but very interesting that she's still there. But more than happy because I think she's the spine of midfield. So yeah, yeah, that's it.
So Freya, I don't feel like we're going to weigh in much on this, but where does the Swedish league rank for you? Do you have much knowledge in terms of how Sweden is set up?
No.
Well,
However,
however,
it was very simple. It was very simple, just as no. It's one of those leagues that you always hear. Obviously through Liberty, but apart from Liberty, like, you always hear things of from the teams and these players, and I think it's an accessibility issue, and that's partly probably on me because I don't know where to go get this news from. But it's one of the leagues that, especially now, we're talking about it more, and now that we're seeing all these players come through who are of such a high quality, it's like, well, why haven't I been watching it? Why haven't I been getting more involved? So yeah, it's definitely a league that I want to know more about. But yeah, unfortunately, I am a bit clueless. So, which is why I look to Liberty for my knowledge.
There's no we in this conversation. It's Liberty that's talking about it, and we are very much just sitting listening. But
that's the thing, learning. Yeah.
Well, this is it. I've been thinking because, as you well know, it is almost a mission statement of all women's football to raise the profile, mainly in this country, but there's lots of people all across the world watching, of all of the different leagues in the world. And I'm trying to think the best way to do that, because to just try and say, well, we'll take all football and just talk about absolutely everything makes it very difficult. So I kind of thought, as these new leagues start, not a new league, but as the new season starts in these leagues, what we could do, and I'm hoping that you guys in the chat will enjoy this too, is that we could pick a team, not a league, a team within that league, and no Liberty, it won't be Hammerby because you've already got them, so you'll talk about them anyway. Another team, which we could put to a vote potentially, and then as a result of that, we would follow them through their season as to how they're getting on, and that way we'd get to talk about all of the teams effectively, because they'll have played all the matches, and we sort of follow it through that way, and then the next season we dump them like a hot potato and pick a different one. So that's just a rough idea. Don't know, see what people think about that, whether they like that or not. What do you reckon, Freya? Is that a good idea?
Yeah, I love a road club. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it.
Good. I'm glad you got Liberty. Didn't hear most of that because the Wi-Fi just killed her, so she hasn't got a clue what I've just suggested. So just
I have no idea what you said, but if it's good enough for Freya, it's good enough for me. I'm going to tell you something like this. And I was like, wow, yeah.
Some would argue that's the most sense I made all night. So no dramas there at all. Don't worry, I'll catch you offline on that one. But it's a nice little idea, I think, that we can have on that one. So listen, as we're in Europe, we might as well have a little chat about the fact that is back this week, and it's going to be, I think, quite an interesting week. We've got obviously the Europa Cup, which nobody will ever watch or see, but it will happen, and then we will just magically know what the scores are. Seems to be the result there. It's a little bit like when you used to play Championship Manager. It will just be that. Absolutely nailed my mannerisms. Wow. Fair play. Got me on that one. Can't argue with that. There we go. That's payback for the other week when I caught you and pulled you back in. Well done. 1-1. But the Europa Cup, absolute nightmare in terms of trying to watch it. But there are some big games coming up there. It's already been alluded to that Sporting will be facing Hammarby. We've got Sparta Prague against Austria Vienna, Häcken against Bilderberg, and Eintracht Frankfurt against Nordsjælland. So some big games going on there. And in the Champions League, of course, it is the knockout phase playoffs, and they will be taking place again over the 2 weeks, with Atletico Madrid facing Manchester United, Paris FC facing Real Madrid, OH Leuven against Arsenal again, and VfL Wolfsburg against Juventus. So, Freya, we'll throw it over to you as well. What are you thinking with regards to Europe? What is really standing out for you there?
Well, let's have a look. Just looking at the Champions League matches, I think Wolfsburg-Juventus is always going to be an interesting one because we never know how that one's going to go. I'm quite excited for Atletico Man United. I think that's going to be a really, really good test for United, and because Atletico doing rather well at the moment. They've had a bit of a strange season, but yeah, I think that's going to be a good test on Thursday. And I just think but there's still the way they've been paired up. I think there's still time for shocks coming through. And especially over 2 legs as well. Literally anything can happen. So, Champions League. Did you mention the Europa Cup as well? Because again, is it Europa Cup? What is it? Yes. It's one of them. We just need to hear more about it because you do forget. Because have they sorted a broadcaster yet? Have they done anything?
Not that I've
positive
heard of yet.
with this? No. Hammerby. Sport of Lisbon Hammerby. That should be quite a good one. But yeah, I think maybe I want to look more into the Europa Cup matches because I think they're the ones that are going to go under the radar, and I think there's going to be some good matchups there. I can see Liberty shaking her head though. But yeah, I think either Atletico United is going to be a good one, and yeah, just looking at these Europa Cup ones should be very, very interesting indeed. Eintracht Frankfurt, I think that's going to be a good match against Northland. I just like football, Barry. That's my reasoning for all of this. Yeah,
that's fair. Like I said, there's lots to choose from, and we're getting into the business end of the competition now. Obviously, the top 4 seeds, in other words, the 4 teams that finish in the top 4 positions in the group stage, have not yet entered the knockout stages. They will be waiting for the winners of these 4 games. Stop it. Just don't even have that face, Liberty. It's just ridiculous. Oh, yes, Arsenal sitting there waiting. Of course they are, as are Chelsea, which will be great fun as well. But, yeah, talk to us. What do you think about the way Europe is set up this week? What is sticking out for you other than the Hammerby game? I'm not convinced she's with us. I think
she's frozen. Yeah.
I think that might be RIP, Liberty's Wi-Fi. We'll just have to see if it comes back.
Liberty.
So we shall see if she pops back. Hopefully she does. I'm sure she'll just reset everything and she'll disappear off the screen in a moment, as seems to happen. She's the second person to fall victim to Wi-Fi issues today on StreamYard. Obviously, lots of people trying to get involved. There we go. She was, wow, this will be good. Look at this.
Oh no.
Double Liberty.
That is freaky, but amazing at the same time.
Oh, that's
fantastic.
Terrifying. Can you hear me now?
I can't lie, I love it a bit, but
okay.
there we go.
I was speaking, and I was speaking because I interjected with Arsenal have to play Leuven. We're not through yet. But then Barry kept talking, and I was thinking, hang on a second, something's not right here, because I was like, he clearly can't hear me. And then he said, what do you think about this week? And then I was like, guys, can you hear me? Guys, can you hear me? I don't know what happened there. Sorry, everyone. I'll go back and answer the question now. Obviously, Hammerby and Arsenal games, fun, exciting, could be interesting. Sport. I hope I don't have a twin sister. That'd be very creepy. And also a shock after 23 years. Surprise! Anyway, yes, Sporting have not lost a game from what I can see since December. So could be interesting there, but they had to play at the weekend and Hammerby didn't, so maybe Hammerby have fresher legs kind of situation. Arsenal, good form. you want them to beat Leuven. I want them to beat Leuven. Anyway, those two aside, my pick for Europa Cup is Frankfurt. Oh, I'm gonna get it wrong. Nors, yeah, the Frankfurt game is the most interesting to me there because Frankfurt are kind of all over the place. They've had 2 games postponed in the last 2 weeks because of the German weather. So they've not necessarily had the greatest time and like most consistent time playing after the Christmas break that they have. But they did just about get a 1-0 win at the weekend. So they're coming off a win, but they drew the game before that. So maybe there's a chance for an upset there, especially because people could probably think they're probably going to win the whole thing. They're definitely the strongest team out of all of them, but they've had a very strange season, so that could be a really interesting game. For Champions League, I think that Real Madrid versus Paris FC is going to be very interesting. And I also think that Wolfsburg versus Juventus is going to be very interesting because Wolfsburg have also been massively affected by the German weather and had games cancelled, and they've only played 1 competitive game since being back from the Christmas break. And that's not really what you want going into important knockout games in the Champions League, especially when they want to be sort of pushing back up and trying to be where they once were. So very interesting. Those are my picks for that. That's my pick for Europe. Yeah, I think that answered that quite quickly.
You did. You answered it incredibly well. So well done, you. Yeah, I think Uncle Dub might have been just a little bit over-egging the pudding there with sporting results, but they certainly do have moments where they win quite heavily. So there we go. We are just going to very quickly, I'm going to just got my paper out. I'm going to ask you, not for scores, not interested in those, but which team is going to make it through in each of the fixtures. So, Atletico Madrid, Manchester United. Freya.
Atletico.
There's no need for this. What's that all about?
But anything can happen, Barry. Anything can happen.
No, it's too late now. Liberty?
United, but it'll be very close.
That's slightly better. United, not even close. About 7-0. Lovely. Paris against Real Madrid, not the fake Madrid.
I think there might be Paris.
Ooh.
That one. Yeah.
Liberty?
I fancy Paris.
You fancy Paris. I can see. Yeah, I was going to go Real Madrid, but now I feel like I don't know ball, so I'm going to say it. I'm going to stick with Real Madrid, but I could find myself wrong there. 11 against Arsenal.
I hope it's Arsenal. Oh.
Pray with Arsenal then. Liberty, I presume you're saying Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Shock. And Wolfsburg against Juve.
Might have to go Juve.
Juve. Serie A bias coming in there. Liberty.
Juve.
Interesting. So I've gone Arsenal and Juve as well on that one. And then in the Europa League, we won't even bother asking Liberty. She's going to say Hammerby there. So that's grand. Freya, Sporting and Hammerby?
I'm going to say Sported just to come on the pigeons.
Well, I was going to say Sporting as well, not because I dislike Hammerby, but purely because Sporting have been playing. I'm very intrigued.
Hey, we've played pre-season friendlies. We've played friendlies.
Yeah, it's not friendly though, is it? And so that's I don't know.
We've
I'm
played
just
games.
plus every player seems to be in the WSL at the minute, so it's going to take a while to gel, isn't it? A bit like my hair in the morning, just takes a little while to gel. So it's just a guess. I could be wrong, and if I am, I'll be pleased because I'll be happy for you. Sparta Prague and Austria Vienna.
Sparta Prague, I think.
Interesting. That's where I was going to. Liberty.
Sorry, it buffered again. Sparta Prague.
Okay, this is Sparta. We're saying there. Hecken against Breidablik.
Hecken?
Liberty.
Hecken.
Now, I've put myself into a cul-de-sac here because I've just had that conversation about Sweden not playing. I don't know. I feel like I've got to maintain, so I'm going to go with Build-A-Bear. Build-A-Bear's going to win it. There we go. Stick with that one. Sweden out. It probably won't happen. It is just guesswork at this point. Exactly that. Thank you very much for working out that we are literally just filling time on that one. Last one then, Frankfurt against Nordsjælland. What do we think?
Probably Frankfurt, but I quite saying Nordsjælland. I quite like saying that. So maybe maybe you'd upset in that one. No, Frankfurt.
Liberty, you going with them?
Yeah.
Is that because it's the only one that you can say as well?
No, because I just learned how to say it because I'm just going to copy you. It's Nordsjælland. Nordsjælland.
Fair play.
Yeah. I'd like to answer Couture's question very quickly. Mac Lind, the Hecken manager who got them to win the league, left. He went to the NWSL. And now they have had since the beginning of January, I want to say, a good, maybe even longer than that. Elena Sadiku, I think. Uncle Tony will correct me on that one. Who joined from Celtic in the Swedish Women's Premier League. But she is Swedish. She retired at Hammarby, fun fact. But yes, they have had her as their coach for a while, just to answer Couture's question.
Oh, I'm learning so much, but it's hurting me today. It was SK a minute ago, and now the SJ is also that sound, which is just...
Yeah, well, he said that, but in Uncle Tony's defense, he said that it's SK, SJ, and something else is all the same sound.
I have to read a lot.
Because it's the same as Martin...
That's now
Sjurgren.
I'm
trying. I don't think that was right, but it is the same sound, and obviously all the Nordic languages. Well, at least 3 of the Nordic languages are close enough that you kind of copy and paste in places.
Okay, well there you go. Nordsjælland is what I'm getting from that. Honestly, this is why I love this channel, because you start picking up all manner of stuff that you just never would have thought about had you not done it. So there we go. Listen, while we're in Europe, let's pop back over to Freya, our Serie A expert, because you've got... Ooh!
Can you say it again, please, Harry?
No, because I've got it right once.
But I want to copy it now, and I'm not going to copy it now because
it was Nordsjælland.
So it's
got to love a little bit of Scotland. So there we go. Anyway, Serie A. Let's get over to some places where I still can't pronounce things. There we go. Love that. So talk to us, Freya. Serie A. What did you have?
I shall. Yeah, Serie A. Very, very exciting weekend. I will just say it again for people who want to watch the leagues. It's really hard to watch it, even when you're really dedicated. There were no games on DAZN on Saturday, none at all. So I was just there sitting watching live score, watching the updates come through because there were no streams anywhere. Because DAZN, as much as it's fantastic, it geo-blocks certain regions. I've had this thing before. But even a good old VPN, if you were to use one, there's only certain ones it accepts because it's clever and it says you're not in Italy, therefore you can't watch it. So there was a couple on Sunday, but the one I really wanted to watch, the Lazio game, was on Saturday, so that didn't help me at all. But yes, some really, really good results. Sassuolo beat Parma. Juve, of course, beat Como 2-0. Roma was only 1-0 against Milan, which I was quite interested by. Napoli had a really good victory, 3-1 against Ternana. Inter beat Fiorentina 3-0. And speaking of Fiorentina, I found the medical update for Lena Hurtig. She has a lesion of her plantar fascia in her foot. So yeah, she's out. That was on the 18th of December, so there we go. So she's out for a little bit through rehab. But the one I did get excited about was Genoa versus Lazio, because that was a proper ding-dong, which is the scientific term, of course. And it ended 5-2 to Lazio, which was incredible. Is this an escape from the Villa pain? Yes. Yes, it is, Kachua. Thank you very much for asking the question. So yeah, fantastic match. Genoa actually went ahead, and you could see Lazio going, hang on, that wasn't meant to happen. And then they came back with a vengeance. Initially, it was credited again on my live score, as I was frequently refreshing the page. It looked like 5 different goal scorers for Lazio, but it wasn't. My favourite, of course, Martina Piemonte, did get her brace before being taken off in the 76th minute. So she did incredibly well. But there's so many players that are so underrated but really suit this Italian system. So yeah, it was a fantastic match. Lazio have now gone up to 5th. They're only 1 point behind Napoli. Napoli, who were in, I think I mentioned this last week, they were second behind Lazio and the best of the rest. So they were right in the relegation spot last season. They're 4th now. They've had a fantastic season. So yeah, only a couple of points behind Juve, who are 1 point behind Inter, who are admittedly 5 points behind Roma. But yeah, they're having an incredible season. But even at the bottom, Ternana and Genoa are both on the same points. Parma are just above them. So again, literally anything can happen. And I also want to give a shout out to the Panini sticker books. They've released their first physical Serie A sticker book this week, and they've just done a huge launch for it, which was fantastic. And all the teams got like big stickers of their club badge and stuff. So yeah, that was fantastic. When I go to Milan in April, totally going to get just stickers for days, because shipping's quite expensive. If anyone else has looked for that one. How many teams qualify for Europe? I think it's 2. Hang on. Maybe 2. You know when someone asks you a question and you suddenly...
Wasn't it?
Was it 3? Yeah, you know when you just think, has anything changed? But I will just double check. Yeah, it's still 3. Still 3, that's fine. So yeah, first place, of course, goes through to the league stage. And then second and third go through to the first round. Yeah, still 3. All good. Just wanted to triple check that one. But yeah, it's really, really, really interesting. And you've got a fight for the bottom, fight for the top. And to be fair, there's not much between the mid-table teams either. So yeah, a very, very good league if anyone does care to watch it.
Why has it disappeared from DAZN? Because I've just looked at my my Bible when it comes to women's football, which is of course livefootballandtv.com. Great place to go and find out what's going on.
Very good website.
And nothing. Like literally, just scrolled all the way down to the end of the year, and there doesn't appear to be any Serie A on DAZN anymore. It's just the Bundesliga. Has there been some sort of deal?
No, it's
the Italians just not want us watching anymore. Like, what's going on?
No, they. I mean, there should be, unless they just haven't updated their schedule. But yeah, they only show certain games. I know in Liga F8 as well, they've changed it slightly. Did I say this last week? They're putting some games on free-to-air TV, so they're not putting it on DAZN. So each week there's going to be a certain amount of games on proper telly, rather than on the app. But yeah, no, there's about 2 or 3 games per week on from Serie A and the Bundesliga and the Premier League as well, the French league. But yeah, let me have a look for you,
Well,
because
fingers
that's
crossed
quite worrying if they have
they'll add
taken it
some
away.
more. Because it's just very strange. Didn't say anything about
Yeah.
any of them. It's a bit weird.
So yeah, 15th of Feb, Roma Napoli is coming up. So yeah, I think they might only do them a couple in advance, because then of course there's the international break and stuff, isn't there? So unless they know certain German games.
Is that Roma at home?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes, that's on the 15th of Feb, but yeah, I can't see any further than that, but I've never looked in the past to see how far you could see. So
I don't know if you're on the same one as me then, but yeah, it's a bit strange because it's not on mine on the 15th. Very strange.
oh, okay. Yeah, so I've gone into so I've subscribed to their women's football bit. But yeah, no, it says Roma versus Napoli, 15th, 5 o'clock.
There you go.
So there
Get on
you
that
go.
one. Give it a watch.
Yeah.
Liberty, I could make you talk about the Serie A, but I think I'm just going to send you to Brazil.
Yeah, thank you. That's all the cheering up I get. Yeah, I want to talk about.
I'm going to send you to Brazil because there is an outstanding game that's happened there. An absolute kicker in the Brazilian final that I will leave you to pronounce.
I was just Super Cooper. That's it.
Super Cooper. That's an ABBA song. I'm not having that.
Just the Super Cup. We tried to figure out how one competes in the Super Cup, because in for example, in Germany, it's usually the people that win the cup versus the league winners, and obviously in men's football, it's whoever wins the Champions League versus whoever wins the Europa League. Very weird. So we tried to figure out how one competes in the Super Cup in Brazil. I'm still very confused. Google wasn't very helpful, but it happened yesterday, maybe on Saturday, depending on your time zone. And it was Corinthians, off of their loss to Arsenal in the Champions Cup, taking on Palmeiras. I looked that up because I did not think that I would get it right. And it went to penalties. Sorry, I'm very surprised by that. It was 1-1 in regular time. Corinthians went ahead inside 10 minutes. Then keeper was knocked out, and that subbed the keepers at 21 minutes. That is, I think that was Corinthians. Yes, I think they were the ones in yellow. But there was a keeper sub in the first half. Then just before half time, Palmeiras equalised. And I watched the highlights because I was not aware at the time that this game was happening, and I also don't know if I could have watched it here. But I've watched the highlights, very entertaining. They're on YouTube if you want them. And honestly, both teams really should have had, just killed the game off. Especially Corinthians had lots of chances before it was 1-1. And then Palmeiras also had a lot of chances when it was 1-1 to kill the game off and win, but neither did. It went to penalties, and it was the penalty shootout of goalkeeper saves. The first penalty was saved by one arm. There was 3 more saves, and then one went over the bar like Megan Rapinoe in the World Cup style. No, sort of like that. I thought maybe she'd hit the bar and gone over. It was. And Palmeiras did win on penalties 5-4, and it was definitely shootout for the keepers more than anyone. So one of those things where I don't know if anyone else does this. If somebody has a very silly penalty run up and like their pre-penalty run and they do stupid things, I want it to be saved. And twice that exact thing happened, where I'm gonna try and do it with like in the air, where she started. This is the penalty spot is here, and this is her. She was like here. She like went round, and then it was like a hot, like a candy cane kind of shape. I was like, I don't know what she's doing. Saved, and the other one was she did like a really long run up or something. I can't really remember, but also saved by the keeper. And I just think in those sorry, but if you do a really silly penalty run up, I do think karma sometimes, and like, well, you done all that, just kick the ball. But yes, Palmeiras won 5-4 on penalties in a very, very interesting game. And then the league starts up again in not very long, at the weekend, on the 14th.
Well, best pick a club then.
Yep, the league starts up again. I need to understand how leagues work, because sometimes they have like they split off in different ways and there's different competitions and I get a bit confused. But very, very interesting that Palmeiras has won their first trophy of the season, and the season's not even started yet. And 2 losses in 2 finals for Corinthians is rough. Yeah, I just wanted to give that shout out because I don't think we've ever talked about Brazilian football other than talking about Corinthians against Arsenal in the Champions Cup. So something a bit different. And also there was no Dutch football except for Twente played Alkmaar in a catch-up round from round 9, which is a bit boring. So no, nothing to report there.
There you go. I'm going to give you the homework on this one, Liberty. You're going to pick the team for Brazil that we as a channel will follow for that Brazilian season. So there we go. Lots to choose from. And all of them obviously in Brazil. So that's great news. Makes lively. Santos. They're a nice Brazilian name. Corinthians and Flamengo, that wonderful dance. And of course, Grêmio, which always makes me think of the 80s film with the lovely little magpie that you don't want to get wet. So there we go. I'll let you pick that and we will start throwing that out on the socials. There we go. We've got through 8 of the 9 topics. And the one that was left is not one that we really wanted to spend a huge amount of time on, but something that I felt, as you know, we're not clickbaity on this channel. We're not really big fans of trying to throw things on the hype train, and hence why we haven't really picked this up at all during the entirety of the show. But we're also not into really having to go at individual people in the grand scheme of things. So we're going to focus mostly on what was said rather than who has said it. But obviously we're going to talk about the comments that Eni Aluko has come out with on the 90s Baby Show podcast, which I think tells you everything you need to know, but we shall see on that one. Now, some really strange things that have been said. So the first thing she does is criticises the male pundits in the women's game. And it's quite interesting. We're talking about the Euro 2025 final, which was on BBC and ITV. And on the one channel, you had Ellen White, ends up being, was she the queen of the jungle in the end? Did she win that? She was really, really good in there. You had Steph Houghton, which is, of course, a fantastic player. And then Nelly Monure was on there as a man. And on the other channel, we had Karen Carney, Strictly Come Dancing winner and overall legend of the women's game. Emma Hayes, I don't think I need to add anything more than just Emma Hayes on that one, of the Hayesian era. And then, of course, everybody's favourite uncle, Ian Wright, who was on there. Now, that ticks every type of diversity box that you would want to tick in terms of making sure that everybody is being represented and people can see people, that gives them the opportunity. Because for me, that's always been the big tagline in women's football. If you can see it, you can be it. And I think that's really important across the whole spectrum of men, women, race, colour, creed, sexuality, gender, the lot. That's what it's all about. And frustrating, therefore, that when you look at these sorts of things, she talks about never getting a major men's final herself, but also talks about the fact that there are women who are pundits in the men's game. We do see that as well. And funnily enough, the quota is usually 2 men to 1 woman. We're not talking about presenters, obviously, because it is a different job. She was right about that. So as a result, we've hit this point, first of all, where there is a bit of a conversation. And it's the line that's got me for this one is that within that, she also said that women's football should be by women for women. And I just find that to be a very tricky statement, because we here on North Women's Football, even on North United WFC, we're very mindful of where we are on that. On a Wednesday night on this channel, we do Lower League Lingo, and it frustrates me, that show, which is a weird thing to say, considering I invented it and I love it in its general form. But it frustrates me because the only people generally that we get on there at the moment are men. It's very difficult lower down to find anybody that can talk about the matches at all that is readily available and easy for me to find. So it's just been helpful that we have people across the country that we have known. We did manage to get a brilliant player from Southampton women in last week, so that was good. We did manage to change that, and it's, for me, really important that there is representation within the women's game, with women being given their voice to have the ability to get on and talk about it. That's why I sit here and host, because although it is currently my voice that you're hearing, we try and give the platform as best as possible to the ladies. And I don't know, she's got a little bit of backlash on this one, which I think is probably rightly so. More importantly, the fact that people are coming back and saying, well, actually, what really matters here is that if you want the game to grow, you can't just focus on having it just for women. You're going to want little boys, little girls, men, women, all of the people, all, like I say, races, colours, creeds, the lot. You're going to want everybody. And it just feels like a really stupid thing to say, because it's very exclusive in a sport that is traditionally very inclusive. So I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts again, not on her, because she's fully entitled to her opinion and what she wants, but like I say, we look at the getting you two on as regularly as we do. We're looking to try and get some more as well. She talks about how the likes of herself and Farrah Williams were sat watching the game of the Euro Cup final, with having almost 300 appearances. Mate, she can have it. If she, well, I say that, we're too good for her. I'm sorry. Listen, the reason she's not getting the Euro Cup final or the World Cup final is because, and I say this from my very heart, she's awful. That's the problem. So if you want a job in this, you've got to have a little bit of something about you. And it's stuff like this that, for me, just completely ruins the entire argument. But she talks about it from the app's point of view, the fact that they've had nearly 300 appearances between them. But again, look at the four women that are being mentioned. Karen Carney, Emma Hayes, Steph Horton, Ellen White. These are not people that you sit there and go, who, what? And if anything, they're players who've played much more recently than the likes of Eni and Farrah. And actually, what that really means is that they're probably, with the current crop of women's football fans, the ones that are more modern, the more recognisable people that they might have heard of. So I'll shut up now, throw it over to you two to sort of end the show with this. So what are your thoughts? And what are your thoughts in both men and women in the women's game?
I've gone off mute first. Sorry, Freya. So I'm going to go first. I don't care who is doing punditry or commentary in any sport, in any field, in any gender, as long as they're good at the job. I couldn't give a toss what gender they are, as long as they're good at the job. And I'm sorry, Farrah Williams and Eni Aluko are not good at punditry. I often don't watch or mute BBC when Farrah Williams is giving her punditry at half-time or before the game, because I don't think she's very good. And I actively avoided all the games on ITV during the Euros where Eni Aluko was doing the punditry. I'm going to be so honest, because I don't think they're very good at the job. And I'm not going to waste my time listening to people I don't think are very good at their job. That out the way, the argument about appearances is ridiculous, other than she said 170 plus 102 makes 290. Could tell you that doesn't actually add up, but that's besides the point. Appearances do not matter, because if appearances mattered, I do not have any caps for England. I actually don't have any appearances in football at all, because I've never played a game of football in my life. So clearly I should just, quit the day job and do something else with my life, because I clearly am not in a place to be talking about football, because I've played the game. So I think that's a redundant statement. The one that's really, really wound me up is her comment in, I think it was the Telegraph today. If Ian Wright is really an ally, he should give jobs to me. No, he shouldn't. I'm sorry. No, he shouldn't. You're entitled enough to a job that a man who's proven time and time again he's very good at his job across both men, give up a job for you so you can have it because you had some appearances for England women. That's ludicrous to me. I think she needs somebody to intervene before she genuinely crash bang wallops down and ruins her entire career, because she's kind of halfway there, whether that's her agents, her family, or professionals. And she also didn't even bother doing any research on Nedum. I think I'm going to go with that pronunciation, but I'm really sorry. Thank you. I wasn't sure. But she said that he has, I don't even know if he played international football, was her line on the podcast. He had some appearances for England under 20 and under 21s where he was racially abused during a game against the Czech Republic in the U21s. Yes, he didn't have any senior caps, and he has said he regrets not. He essentially, to cut a very long story short, he turned down playing for Nigeria when he was at Man City because they had changed managers and he was scared about losing his place at City. So he turned down playing for Nigeria, which is his birth country, and then he never got call-ups for England after that. And as what I just said, he was racially abused during the Czech Republic game for the U21s. But she just hasn't done any research on him because she goes, I don't even know if he's played for England. If you're going to sit there and insult somebody and say that they should give up a job for you based on your own criteria, why would you not do research to go, actually, I know this man hasn't played for England? Why would you admit knowing nothing about him? And he was very good on BBC during the Euros. He was very good. And he now does the BBC version of, what's it called, on 3 o'clock on a Saturday? I can't remember. School
Focus.
That one. He does that and he's very good on that. So I don't understand why she feels this need to attack men because she's upset that she's technically not very good at her job.
But there is an element here, isn't there, Liberty, that actually traditionally, and where she is right in what she's saying here, is that traditionally women haven't been involved within the punditry of football in the wider landscape on TV as much as they could have been. And we do want to see that. Like I said, I know that there are cavemen everywhere that are like, oh, don't put the women anywhere near the men's game. We don't want that. But actually, that's not the point. The point is that the women's game should be a proving ground where people can get used to it. And there does need to be, I think, personally, room for people to grow. They are going to make mistakes. They are going to say things that perhaps come across as a bit silly. They are going to need to build their confidence. And we see that when we run these sorts of shows regularly. Again, on All for United, we've had people come through and they're very, very nervous on their first few goes. That's to be forgiven. People should be allowed to make mistakes. But I think a lot of it is the way in which people can connect with you. I'm by no means the world's best presenter that you're ever going to meet on any of these things. I'm not as up to date with things as I would like to be, as best as I can be. But then equally, I'm not pretending to be Des Lynam. There's a level of professionalism that you can put into these things, and there's only so many hours in a day. But nobody's paying me for this, Connor. When I want a contract, I'll be coming in for it. But the whole purpose of it is that you've got to try and build that relationship, the rapport that we've got as a panel as well. And this isn't the way to build that relationship with people so that you can be in a position to be a good pundit and to have people stick up for you. I don't know, Frey, you jump in with what you're thinking, because it just feels a little bit counterintuitive.
Oh, 100%. And just while you were both talking, I was going through our comments again. I was just getting angry all over again because we had this the last time she spoke. And And again, not talking about her, but the wording and the way it's coming across, and it's very toys out the pram, and it's very, I'm not getting what I want, so I'm going to scream and shout about it until I do. And we all know that's not how you get things. And it's very much to the point now where everything she's saying is just to her detriment. She is not saying one positive thing about her own career. She's not saying anything. If anything, she's pulling Farah into it. And I know, people have got their opinions on Farah, but Farah didn't ask to be involved in this. Farah's just probably in the stands watching it. So now she's being tarred with that brush that she probably doesn't want to get involved in. You've also got, Shaban, of course, who again polarizes people. She was talking about it on TalkSport this morning with her male colleagues. And she's saying, look, at the end of the day, this is what she said. How do you feel about this? Because as a woman, she's, like you said, Barry, she's saying women's football is for women and by women football this. But surely, and again, agreeing with what Liberty said, you want the best people for the job. You don't care who that is. If they're knowledgeable, if they're passionate, if they understand and they want to grow and they want to learn, that's who you want on your screens. If you've got someone who half-asses it because she doesn't do her research and doesn't come across as friendly and personable, no one's going to want to sit and listen to her. She could be, and again, this calls for anyone. We've seen male ex-footballers begin to do punditry, and they're not very good, but that's okay. It doesn't suit anyone. Caps doesn't mean anything. That's playing versus talking, two very different things. But yeah, she's not helping herself. And I know what Trebuchet is trying to say in the chat there, and I'm very aware I'm very white saying this comment, but surely you want the most diverse faces on our screens. So why are you only singling out the other black men that are in these opportunities? Because they are very, very good. Like, I did not have any issues with them being on the panel because you just listen. And when people know their stuff, regardless of how long you've watched a sport or watched anything, you listen because you want to learn and because you think, yeah, they're onto something. They're good at this. And something else she said was, I do more for little girls who want to be broadcasters than Ian Wright does. And I was like, no, you don't, because is this the attitude that you want little girls to have? I want this and I'm not getting it, so I'm going to kick off. No, you put your head down, you work hard, like people were saying. If you want to get better at this, because the common denominator is you're not very good, take more gigs, try more WSL, WSL2, go abroad, like do different broadcasting opportunities, do different sports. As everyone here, we've volunteered to write articles for things. We host shows for free. We do all of this to get experience and to learn and to become better at what we do. And then if a paid opportunity comes up, fantastic. We've done all of, the grunt work with it. But for her to go, well, I've played, therefore I'm entitled to this. No. And that's not how that works. So yeah, I agree that she needs someone to take her aside and say, you're not helping yourself. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a long time before she gets a gig again, because she's a liability the way that she keeps talking. And you don't go against Ian Wright. Of all the men and of all the people in these spaces, you just don't. So yeah, I think if it's a law for anyone, just work hard, keep your head down, be professional, because she's just not setting a good example for the little girls that she apparently is paving the way for.
And this is it. I mean, again, we talk about trying to get people in who, tick the various boxes. And I don't want it to come across as a box ticking exercise. We've had one of them on, that's brilliant. Yeah, well, good, we got that. But again, it's really important that people see that. Again, at school, you try and make sure that every possible type of relationship and body type and all of that is there, because people need to see themselves represented within society in order for for them to feel
Yes.
parts of society. You know, you don't want to feel other than. And so again, it was very, very weird to see that she was going after Ned and Ian Wright. And Liberty, I know you just had one more thing that you wanted to throw in on this one, but the fact again that it is Ian Wright. I mean, as Freya says, we all sit here and we're all just trying our best in our own little way on our own little corner of the internet that everyone and their grandma has one of. You know, we're all trying our best to just kind of lift up women's football and give it the best possible type of exposure that it can possibly get, so that it is taken seriously as a sport and that it is given the opportunity to women that was just snatched away from them when it didn't need to be, by men who were in that space and feeling like the women were becoming a little bit of a threat. And you know, I could sit here and list the number of things that I sit here and try and do for women's football. That the fact that I was up till midnight last night trying to sort out statistics and all sorts of things for the local club that I work at. The fact that I'm sat here again almost till midnight again. That was Enia Luco Maspia there. Whilst trying to do this show and having been on here since 7. You know, the whole purpose is that we're just trying to do our best, and we're not doing it for the recognition. We're not doing it for those sorts of things. We're doing it for the sport. And it doesn't feel nice when I think people are coming across at you like that just because they're basically a little bit annoyed that they're not the ones that are included. But Liberty, go
on. Yeah, I have nothing else to say about Luca that has not been said by either Barry or Freya or anyone on the internet with a brain. But I want some perspective and maybe some positivity. A friend of mine came across, I don't know how he's done it. He's a wizard. If you follow him already, he's a wizard. On Twitter, he's come across a video from 1980 of Ian Wright going and saying hello to the England women's team, the Lionesses, in 1990. I'm assuming he was also on international duty for England himself in this specific video. But look, you think of that time, I don't like to generalize, but you'd assume that most of the England men's team would just be ignoring the women's team. Like, it was not in the place where it is now where you can't ignore it. But he, in the video, goes and says hello. He gives, he's even kisses on the cheek. That's kind of the Ian Wright kind of stuff. That is who he is. But there's another man who I believe is in the squad with him, but I do not know who it is. And I don't recognize the face to try and name, but there is somebody with him. Give credit to that person too. But he easily could have gone, don't matter, doesn't matter to me. But even in 1990, when the eyes were not there, he is still just being a courteous gentleman and saying hello and stuff. And I think perspective is a very good thing when you think about people attacking him. Like, not to make people feel old, but my parents hadn't even met in 1990. Sorry about that, guys, but they hadn't. I was not born for another.
Home now, shall I? I'll just.
This is why you haven't seen the Flintstones.
Yeah, I'm very young, but I'm also not like. Anyway, but he has, even if it's like in the background kind of stuff, always been a gentleman to women's football in some aspect. And I just think
another chap, I think it's either Clinton Morrison or Mark Bright, I think.
Thank you. I had absolutely no idea. I just assumed because he was in the same outfit as Wrighty that he was also in the team. But credit to him as well, because he's also there with Wrighty and the women's team. But yeah, like he easily could have ignored them, though. You know what I mean? Like, he easily could have gone, they're beneath me. I'm an England international. I play in the Premier League, kind of stuff. But he doesn't. He goes and says hello, and it's like stuff like that where I think when his character and his dedication to women's football is being attacked for no reason, that it's just those sort of things that remind you that he has actually been here much longer than well, longer than I've been alive, way longer than I've been alive. And yeah, I just think we all defend him very adamantly, and rightfully so, but he also deserves to be defended as such. And yeah, I just thought if you, I if you want, I'll read out the username if you want to go find it yourself. Sorry, that would be way much easier. Oh wait, can I put it in the, oh. I'm wondering if I'm going to try and put it in the chat here before we finish, so that people can just click on it instead of me faffing around reading it out. Sorry, let me try and get it.
There we go. But Liberty was just buffering there, but don't worry, she's all good now. There we go. She's sorted. And I think what we're just really talking about there is, let's be brutally honest, football's just for all. And if you love football, as Freya said earlier on, I just love football. Football's football. It doesn't really matter who's on. I've been involved in football for an incredibly long amount of time. I've coached children. I've been around the men's game, the women's game, and I can get just as excited over a last-minute winner for United in the Champions League final as I have done for a last-minute winner for Stevenage against Luton, as I have done for an under-sevens game in a last-minute goal, because a last-minute goal is a last-minute goal, and this game will take you on highs and lows that you can never believe or dream of, and it really doesn't matter who it is that's playing it. It's just football. That's just what it is. Liberty, your hand is up. Yes, you may go to the toilet.
Sorry, I don't think I can't post the link in the chat because I don't think you're allowed to mention other social medias in the chat on the Breaking the Fourth Wall, the website that we use to talk to each other. So maybe Barry, if you could like retweet it or do something so people could find it on the All for United, All for Women's Football page. Thank you. But yeah, I tried, but it says this comment has failed to post to All for United Women's Football twice. So
get yourself told off here, I can see. So that's fair enough. Let's see, will you let me copy the link? It does let me copy the link. So I will post that on All for Women's Football in just a moment on our Twitter. And I will do that whilst I'm making my hot chocolate, because, ladies and gentlemen, it is bedtime. It's been a 2-hour and 12-minute show. I've learned a lot this evening. I've learned a lot about the 9 topics. I've also learned that maybe next time it should only be 6, but you never know. We live, we learn, and that's how the game works. But you guys have stuck with us because the viewers have just gone up and up and up throughout the last 2 hours, which tells me you've really enjoyed listening to these two, because let's be honest, nobody really cares what it is that I've got to say, and that's exactly how it should be, because I'm really here just to knit it all together like a grandma making shreddies on the old adverts. I don't think Liberty will remember that either, so that's a sad
It's a good advert.
I
get you, Barry.
Wasn't it? We're all just sitting there with their knitting needles, knitting the shreddies out of wheat. Oh, you don't know you've lived, Liberty. You really don't. But there we go. Listen, an absolute pleasure to have all of you in the chat today. We've spoken about the WSL. Again, we haven't heard much more about it since, but Paul Green, as we said, has been, I say, dismissed. He's left his post as the head of women's football at Chelsea. So that's a pretty big one. But yeah, feel free, go back, like, subscribe, watch everything we've got for the last 2 hours and 12 minutes if you so desire. But if not, worry not. We'll be back on Wednesday for a bit more lower league lingo, where we're talking about tier 3 and tier 4. So that should be great fun. Please do come along and have a little watch of that. If not, we should be back here next Monday. Hopefully Freya's going to be here. You going to be here, Freya?
As far as I know. Yeah.
Lovely. There we go. And hopefully Liberty's going to be here. Are you going to be here, Liberty?
Can't think of any reason why I wouldn't be here.
It's just the enthusiasm for me. That's what I'm loving. I know it's 11:15, but I suppose so. I've got nothing else to do. I'll be here as well. And we don't know yet, but talks have advanced. We're looking for somebody to fill that 4 spot that isn't Liberty when she's frozen. And you just watch this, one of those 2 spaces, either the one at the bottom left or the one at the watch that space, because hopefully we will start to fill that spot a little bit more. It'll be hard to fill the shoes of Sean, but I'm sure we'll give it a bleeding good go. So there you go. Brilliant stuff. Pleasure to have you all with us. Have a lovely, lovely evening, what's left of it. Sleep well, and we will see you next week. Night all.